When I think of Spider-Man in the 1980s, a few things immediately come to mind. One of them being the emergence of the Hobgoblin, the relative absence of the Green Goblin, the black and white suit, the symbiote eventually becoming the villainous Venom, and of course, the emergence of a controversial trailblazer in comics, that being Todd McFarlane, looking a lot like Maury Povich in this photo here. More on him later, alright? But we're gonna dive in to the top 10. Like and subscribe if you want, and if you appreciate this kind of content, let me know. If you disagree with anything I said here, that's fine. At least, say something interesting in the comments if you can. Alright, so here we go. Here is number 10. Alright, this is Amazing Spider-Man 316, a Todd McFarlane cover featuring Venom. This is not Venom's first appearance. In fact, it clearly says Venom is back. Now, this is number 10. I am actually not a big fan of a lot of Todd McFarlane covers. You're not going to see a lot of them here, but I felt I had to kind of throw a bone out there. This cover is pretty nice. Venom is striking a sinister pose. I'm not sure where all the blood is coming from, though. Spider-Man's all twitching and convulsing amongst the rubble and debris. The background is kind of odd. All the streaks coming out from behind. Not sure what that's all about. But you can still say that Spider-Man's in big trouble. Venom's got the upper hand. But looks like he disemboweled him or something. We know that didn't happen. But anyways, one thing I like about Venom at this stage is his teeth. He had sharp teeth, but not out of control. Later on, like when he first appeared, he had a nice set of teeth, straight out the dentist's office, Then they got sharper and sharper until they just became all snaggle-toothed and all over the place with his tongue flapping all over. So Venom changed a lot over the years. I still liked when he was a bit milder. But yeah, anyways, this came out in the late 80s. This is 1989, right at the tail end of the decade. McFarlane, sorry, I'll talk more about you later, but we'll move on to number 9. Alright, now this is Amazing Spider-Man 278. This is the work of Charles Vess, an artist I wasn't very familiar with, to be honest, until I looked deeper into some of his art and his unique covers. This one you can clearly see what looks like the Hobgoblin, splayed out as the shadow of Spider-Man looms, saying justice is served. Now, where have we heard that before? Scourge of the Underworld, perhaps? Alright, but anyways, this is a bit of an unconventional Spider-Man cover. It's beautiful and all. I'm putting it a bit lower just because it's quite atypical of a Spider-Man cover, and I think, when we get higher up, you might see what I mean, or maybe you won't. One thing I want to say, Charles Vess has another or a few other really interesting covers. If you take a look at this one, this is right before it, 277. This is not my number 9. I love this cover too. The one thing I don't like about it is all the text boxes, where it says special issue, mystery of Hobgoblin deepens, and down at the bottom, the cry of the Wendigo. You didn't need all that. You cluttered the cover. Without all that, it would have been probably in my top 10. Anyways, it just shows you again the quality of art. But if I was Charlie Vess, I'd be a bit upset about all those additions on the cover. Moving on, this is number 8 on the list. Number 266. This came out in mid-1985. This is the work of Dennis Cowan. Dennis Cowan, the great Dennis Cowan. And features Frogman and the Toad on the cover. This is a bit of a odd story. And you see Spider-Man just barging through like, enough of this. I love the color contrast on this cover. I like what looks like this epic clash between Frogman and Toad. They look huge on this cover, strangely enough. But I dig it. I just love the way the colors work. And I'm always going to big up Dennis Cowan anyways, but this is a nice cover. Moving on, to the next one here. We've got one I remember very vividly from my childhood. This is my number 7 on my list. This is Amazing Spider-Man 283. This may have been the first Spider-Man comic I picked up and owned. This cover is always etched in my memory. Some people might not have picked this for their top 10, but maybe that memory of mine is part of the reason. But arguably, I love this cover anyways. I feel it's a throwback to the 70s. It's the work of Bob Layton, oddly enough, famous for his Iron Man work. I was a bit surprised to know that Bob Layton did this. Absorbing Man in Titania. I love Absorbing Man. I think he's a fantastic villain. Titania looking like, like a civilian up in here. But even their romance and their team up, their connection, was no joke. And Spider-Man is in trouble, whether he realizes it or not. And this is at the airport on the tarmac. So this is some serious business. I dig this cover. I don't care what anyone says. And Absorbing Man, I think, has so much untapped potential. Sandman, Hydro Man, they might come up a bit later. They would have made a great team of louts. Louts. An old medieval insult. Unhand her, you lout. Give me a flagon of ale, you lout. That kind of thing. Anyways, he's one of them kind of guys. Super powerful, but he's not that bright, so he's beatable. But he's no joke. He's no joke. All right, moving on. We're on to number 6. This is in '84. This is soon after the appearance of the black and white costume, which you can't really tell because of the lights shining in Spider-Man's face all over his body here, as his spidey sense is tingling, and he's in big trouble, and he's being stalked by Puma, and this is the first appearance of Puma. Quality villain, quote unquote. But again, if I saw this on the newsstand for the first time, I would be intrigued. Fantastic work right here. And this is Ron Frenz, the work of Ron Frenz, and he is all over 1980s covers for Spider-Man. His name's coming up again. We are going to move on to number 5 on my list. Excuse me. And this one features an unusual foe for Spider-Man, the Juggernaut. Even here calling him the unbeatable foe. And this is in 1982, March of 1982. So we're going a bit further back. And this is the work of John Romita Jr., John Romita Sr., arguably the greatest Spider-Man artist of all time, arguably, and his son picking up the reins in the early 80s. I love the black and white Juggernaut image in the back, and his eyes bulging out like he's really not feeling it. So I think this is a striking cover, very memorable, recognizable from afar. And again, bit of a throwback. Reminds me a bit of some of the 70s covers that even his dad might have been involved in. So I definitely dig this. Now, still continuing with JR. This is his work. In 1981, early 1981, I absolutely adore this cover. Sandman and Hydro Man teaming up. It just makes sense. It's a great team up. And here's Mud in Your Eye, Spidey, as it says in the bottom. And look, Spider-Man is slipping in the mud. And the thing I absolutely love about this cover is Spider-Man's double take. He's doing like, what? I love that. I think it's captured beautifully. He definitely looks like he's in trouble. Hydro Man got the one eye looking like Popeye or Ahab or something. And of course, Sandman, classic Spider-Man villain, looking super powerful here in this picture. Now, let me tell you something. I mentioned Todd McFarlane earlier on, right? Let's take a look at this cover here from the late 80s. This is, I think, probably 88. Amazing Spider-Man 303. Look at Sandman here. Like, compare that to what you saw just now from that JR cover. Sandman here, I don't know what he's doing. What is he doing? And even his like the sand forming the bottom, like where his legs would be, that's a piddly amount. That's like nothing, you know. Todd McFarlane's line work, you know, was on the detail. That was always eye-catching. You know, artists were not doing a lot of that stuff back then, so it came on like gangbusters. But if you look at this cover, what's going on? What's Spider-Man doing? He's just striking a pose in midair with all this excess webbing going on. He doesn't, I don't know, is he teaming up with Sandman? Is he fighting Sandman? What's he doing here with Silver Sable, who looks like she's slipping on sand? I've read this comic, you know, from back in the day. I don't remember what happens in it, but this cover tells us nothing. And again, it's just, you know, scattered images. It doesn't give me a sense of what makes Sandman cool whatsoever, not to mention the other qualities I just mentioned. Moving on, I don't want this to be a hate parade, but anyways, a bit of a thumbs down on this one. About the original here, 217 with Hydro Man and Sandman, the only criticism I might have is the plain white background. But if that's the only thing I can say bad about it, I think that's a feather in its cap. But we're going into the top three. The top three. All right. Oh, before that, actually, before we get into the top three, let me show you another one, another bit of McFarlane work. And I don't want to hate on the guy at all. Spider-Man 315 with Hydro Man. Okay. Now this picture of Hydro Man is well done, and the water, the detail of the water, this is all well done. But Spider-Man himself on this cover, I don't really get much of a sense of what's going on with him. If it was a classic John Romita Sr. cover, perhaps, or Jr., you would have seen Spider-Man flailing around, looking helpless. And even on his mask, you would have seen a sense of despair and panic. With the McFarlane covers, I never, ever get any of that sense whatsoever. Again, Hydro Man looks cool, even with his mullet and all that he got going on. But either way, sorry to hate. I'm not trying to hate, but you know, the classic traditional style, I find, made a bigger impact on me later in life than when I was a kid. Moving on to the top three. All right, here is 261. Okay, and this is the work of Charles Vess again. Very unique, striking cover. Spider-Man himself looks almost like the old Ditko style, the original 60s style. Hobgoblin looks absolutely terrifying here, and the flames all around them, the color, the subtle changes in tone and all that. It's wonderful work. When it came to Hobgoblin covers, there's so many in the 80s. There was one of 250, Spider-Man 250, these two locked in battle. I almost chose this one. I could have easily chose this one, but I just didn't want to do too many Hob. In this game, this one has fire in the background and so on. So I didn't want to pick both of them. They're both similar in their own way. And another one, 289. Okay, this one in 1987, where it's revealed, you know, the identity of the Hobgoblin. This is a great cover, but I couldn't pick it because where's Spider-Man? Spider-Man's not on the cover. It can't be a top 10 Spider-Man cover without Spider-Man. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. Or at least you got to do a bit more, but this is a great cover. Moving on from this, we're now to number 2, the silver medal winner in the top 10. I adore this cover. I didn't realize immediately how much I loved this cover. It really grew on me. And this is again Ron Frenz, an artist that I've gained a lot more appreciation for in recent times than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I thought it was kind of plain. His art was plain, and then that's why McFarlane took Storm, because of that mentality that fans like me had. But I was a kid, so whatever. But now I see this for what it is: classic comic art. The tug of war, the identity for Peter Parker, who is Spider-Man. It's all captured in one still image, and that's the essence of what comic book cover art is. I think it's distilling what a story is all about just from the cover. When you have some idea, opening up that comic book, what might be in there, and maybe you don't know it all, you might be surprised, but it should pull you in to see what else is behind that image. Okay, so this is great stuff. And again, I'm sorry to harp on our friend Todd McFarlane. There was another cover that I liked of his, which was Spider-Man 317. This is one of my preferred McFarlane covers, but to me it's a bit of a homage in a sense to the one I just showed you. Again, the identity crisis, the symbiote of Venom pulling away at the red and blue Spider-Man. Again, I had to pick the other one just now, 258. I had to stick with this one. I just think this is perfect. And look at Peter Parker flailing around as he gets pulled into this vortex, this psychological vortex. It's all captured right there. This is wonderful, wonderful work. Now we're finally on to number one. The number one choice is Spider-Man 252. Okay, and of course, this had to be it. This is the first Spider-Man issue with the black and white costume. The only thing I don't like about this cover is where it says, "The rumors are true." The rumors are true. You could have cut that out. Introducing the new Spider-Man, that's enough. Look at these young people that he's got rescued. Their faces, their expressions. Ron Frenz, awesome work. And the color of the sky, the buildings in the background. It's not overdone at all. The composition of the images here. And also, of course, the homage, I used that word earlier, I'm going to use it again. The homage to the first appearance of Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy 15 back in 61 or 62, I believe. Classic. This, Spider-Man cover 252 says it all. There's no way it could have been anything but this one. All right. So there you go. That's my top 10. However, I do have one bonus cover, and this is my maybe number one of my lame covers of the 80s. 262, featuring a photograph of some dude pretending to be Peter Parker, with someone taking a picture of him in the background, opening a door. I don't know how I would have felt about this, seeing this on a newsstand or in a comic store. I hate this cover. I don't care what anyone says. A lot of people like it because it's unique. Get out of here, man. This has nothing to do with comic book art. This is a gimmick. Pure and simple gimmick. I don't like it. Thumbs down. But anyways, that was my top 10. All right. If you agree or disagree, it's all good, baby. Say what you gotta say. Okay, but there we go. That's the top 10. This is the Pop Culture Cosmonaut. All right, and I cover a lot on comic books and other things in pop culture as well. If there's a topic you might be interested in, please let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and we out of here, man.